Welcome to my Watercolour channel. Thank you for stopping by. Tally-ho then.
Hello there and welcome to a new demo. Thank you very much for checking out my paintings and channels again. Subscribe and like and blah-de-blah-de-blah. Thank you. This is a little painting of a scene in Narooma in New South Wales. A photo was taken on holiday a couple of years ago. I like the scene. It's just a pretty interesting little thing. There's nothing sort of flashy about it. There's no real sort of detail or massive sort of tricks and things like that going on. The sky I just sort of kept a little bit sort of nothing. It's kind of a grey day, but with some fairly tame sort of shadows and things on the little shack on the right hand side, and just sort of leave a horizon, a little bit of white at the horizon line, just to sort of give that a bit of a sparkle at the very edge of the water. Just sort of creating the underwashes of the water here. Just I think it was some yellow ochre, some greys into yellow ochres into some ultras or something like that. Darker tonally at the front as well. There's just a little embankment. I think that's just a bit of, I think it's yellow ochre and a bit of burnt sienna and a bit of rubbish off the palette. Just sort of creating some different little textures. Sort of, it's sand and rocks and all that sort of crap. Spray some water, just do some splashy washies. There we go. Splash some water. That's a bit of purple. Purple always looks really good in these sort of things, I reckon. Anywhere there's sort of light, earthy colours, the purple's really nice. See my hand vigorously mixing away down the bottom there. Now, this little shack, it's kind of a, reddy orangey sort of colour, I suppose. Anyway, you're doing sort of big areas of sort of solid colour, make sure you leave a few little gaps. Do some fast brush strokes so we can capture that, good stuff on the rough paper. Here and there. Not too much, but just breaks it up a bit and makes it a bit more interesting. Front of the building there, just at the very edge. But we'll get to more of that later. That'll come to life a little bit later on with some shadows. This is literally just the underwashes, the undercoats, and getting everything sorted for the next part. Now I do just muck around here with some sort of darker blues, sort of thicker bluey, purpley sort of colours, and I think I'm on the phone to my wife when I'm painting this because my daughter's sick and she was saying how she was going. She went to work, but no, everything's cool. So just sort of spraying a bit off, letting it all run. Look at that, it comes back to something really nice. Some nice little stuff going on in the foreground. Now some distant mountains. So in reality, these mountains are pretty close. They're not too far. I wouldn't really call them mountains. They're just sort of hills. Now, for some reason, I had a bit of a struggle with this straight horizon line. It was one of those attempts that I just couldn't nail for some reason, but ends up finding the end. But just with these things, make sure you. There we go. We stuffed it up there. That's okay. So I just embellish it and go down further. But just drop some darks in here and there. Vary it tonally. Leave a few gaps. Bit of interest. It gives you the impression that there's some, houses and stuff in the background there too, I suppose. And another distant hill. Remember, cooler colours always recede more into the distance. So keep your distant mountains and hills quite cool. And I fuss over this too much. Here's a big lesson. I fuss over this, I get annoyed with it, and it ends up fine, but I end up just fussing over it till it gave me the shits. But backgrounds are just that. Backgrounds, treat them as such. They're important. Get right tonally, etc. to set the mood, but they're the background. They're not the focus of the picture. Just do what you got to do and keep it simple. And I've just got the old tissue out there to create a bit of sort of a misty feel going back, and try not to create too many hard edges so it looks like there's things that are outlined and stuff. So ends up looking okay. I think I'll start with the boat here next. Usual story with boats. I covered it in another video, but dark on the bottom, obviously, to get the sit the boat on the water. And this is an old sort of fishing boat. This one was it wasn't actually in the picture that I took. The boat that's there is just a real horrible shape. It's like a houseboat or something. This one's just a little bit better, and I end up kind of mucking around with it a bit too much, but it looks fine in the end because it's a grotty old fishing boat, and ends up looking just that, which is what we're after. Now keep everything quite sort of fresh, and don't let anything dry until you're kind of happy with how it's sitting. Always, your tissues, all that sort of stuff. You're thinking texture. Think texture all the time with these sort of things, because you're looking at, you're looking at old ratty things. So texture's really good, really important. Now, bit of a reflection here. Sharp reflections again. I think ends up being sort of nice, but ends up being obliterated a little bit later on, which is kind of good and what I had planned anyway. But this is a good little shadow and reflection coming in here. Just anchoring it to the ground again a bit. And we're kind of looking at that sort of dark bit at the very end. It's kind of the butt end of the boat. That's about as technical as I get about boats. I know nothing about boats. And I'm just mucking around with this little cabin. Once again, these are just impressions, okay? So there's nothing here that's tricky. There's nothing here that's detailed. This is impressionism at its, it's not at its best. I don't mean it to sound like that. I mean, it's impressionism at work. So you're creating things. You're giving an impression of an object. You know damn well that's a boat, but if you look up close, there's nothing there. You know it's a cabin. You know it's a bit of a mast or something hanging off there, but there's nothing else to it. It's just really simple. I just sort of embellishing a few little highlighty bits and changing the little bit of colour here and there. Now, this little bit here, it's really nice. It's sort of, it's kind of nice. You'll see it in a second when I sort of mark around with the water across the front and the very foreground there in a second, because it's all going to go across and bleed and look really nice. This sort of stuff here, I just really like it. And see how that, as soon as you're putting that darker foreground and the shadow and things like that, it's all of a sudden taking shape. It's starting to really sort of look deeper and look a bit more realistic's not what we want, but it's just a bit more interesting and a bit more dramatic. And under this shack here, there's little pylons and stuff that are there. End up just sort of scraping out a few things with a palette knife, I think, in just a moment here. And note on the water that there's those the water's starting to run, but there's enough interest in that reflection where the boat is. So there's enough white paper and there's enough sparkle there to do its job really well. So these little pylons and things that are going on, I'm just mucking around with a palette knife. That's all that is. And a couple of little sprays, and that sort of keeps us going for the meanwhile while that dries off and it does its thing. That'll change up a bit more again. Now, a couple of little posts there, and a rope going across. But no, we're coming back soon when it's dried. Oh, there we go. So yeah, it's dried off. That's nice. It's subtled. It's become a bit more subtle. Now, shadows. These are fun. This is a good little trick. Really light, so it's not a real dark, contrasty type shadow, because it's not that kind of day. If it was a bright sunny day, we might have gone with darker shadows, but kind of looks like nothing yet. I mean, you'll see it in a second. Look, it's a good little trick. So you're talking shadows being cast from something out of the picture, obviously there, but once it dries and we put some dry brush windows and little strokes in there, it really comes to life. With the boat, just making that reflection just a little bit darker tonally. Really careful not to get rid of those white little sparkles on the water. There's a bit of a jetty that leads down from the shed down to the boat, and just suggests some little reflections and stuff in there. Nothing flashy here. We're just talking a couple of lines here and there. Suggestions once again. Spray bottle, spray for effect, spray to get it to run. Just do what you need to do to get it looking exactly how you want it. Now this boat is, it's looking okay. I think it just sort of start to embellish a little bit more, put a bit more detail sort of in that little sort of just on the edge of the boat, and put a bit more colour and stuff. I think there's a bit of red coming through now, and that, believe it or not, makes a lot of difference. Just those little bits of red. I hope they sort of come through on the camera, but they do a job, that's for sure. Just sort of splashing some paint and some water about. It's a really fun picture. This really fun painting to do. Couple of dodgy birds everywhere. Love them. But I think birds are good for these sort of things because they give a really nice airy fairy kind of feel to it, and it's a bit, you can kind of smell it a bit more. Now I'm just drying off. I showed this here, just drying off the little shed so we can show you how we're going to do these shadows and things. These windows rather. But you'll see what I mean once we put the little weatherboard, lines like the little slats in this wall. You'll see how those shadows really sort of spring to life from there. Mix up some sort of quite thick paint. We want, dry brush stuff here. A couple of careful, like keep your perspective right. Don't get lazy with perspective and things. Keep that nice. Now, some dry brush here. See how once we put these on, see how that just sort of comes to life, and that shadow sort of springs into action and means a bit more for us. It's great. I like it. It's a good little trick. Not too much more going on here. I think we're just putting a few little reflections in the water, not like sort of shadows rather than reflections. Shadows that are being cast by the building, I suppose. Notice how I kept it really light and nothing in the background. That's really good because the middle ground's quite busy. With the building and the boat all on the same sort of plane there, but so keep the background, think of balance in your compositions and things as well. Tissue a bit out there. Now I do get a bit of gouache out here in a moment just to bring a couple little highlights through. Not much to do on this one, but no, I really appreciate you watching my videos, and I'd really love it if there's anything that you like, please feel free to share them on your social media platforms, on any art groups or painting groups, watercolor groups, anything like that you think we might benefit from it. And please share and ask your mates to subscribe as well. Really appreciate any sort of time you take in looking at these things in the middle of trying to grow the channel, and slowly getting there with the help of you guys. I really appreciate it. I'm happy to do this. I love it. It's great fun. Just finishing up now. I think that's pretty much it. Hope you enjoyed this one. Oh, there we go. There it is. That's pretty much how it ended up. It's a nice little picture. Appreciate you watching, and once again, subscribe and like the channel. And thanks, but give it a crack. Hope you have a great day. Cheers.